Yeah. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here tonight and joining us virtually as well. This is our March regular meeting, and we look forward to celebrating International Women's Month, and we really appreciate all those women who have come before and really treaded a path for our country and for the world. And so I wanted to open up with that, and that was for my mom, by the way, so I made sure I got that in anyway. Great woman, but again, appreciate you all being here. I'll call our meeting to order. And council, you have your packets in front of you, and we'll follow along our agenda. The first item will be an invocation given by Councilman and Mayor Pro Tem Hinkle, followed by a pledge of allegiance. We ask those who are here to please stand and recite our pledge with us.
We may bow our heads for a minute, please. Oh, Lord, we ask that you bless this meeting this evening. Give us the knowledge and inspiration to do the right thing for our town and our citizens and our community. We ask your blessings upon all those who are sick and infirmed this evening. Bring them healing, if you will, please. We also ask for those that are suffering very much in the Ukraine-Russian war, and if you would, bring peace to that part of the world as soon as possible. We ask that you also guide and direct us in everything that we say and do throughout our lives, that they are pleasing in your sight. And all these things we ask in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Hinkle, for the invocation. Our thoughts and prayers continue to be with the people of Ukraine during this time as well. Council, in front of you, there's your agenda. I would ask if there are any adjustments to tonight's agenda. Staff?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. Not certain why the microphone's not working, so I'll speak louder. Okay. We need to add item number 12 in the new business. Consider designation of a council member as a voting delegate for the 2022/2023 North Carolina League of Municipalities Board of Directors.
Okay. One item requested by staff to add item 12, delegate for the League of Municipalities Board of Directors. Any other additions or deletions? Okay. Council, if you agree with the addition and the rest of the agenda, I'd ask that we pass it with one motion to approve the agenda as amended. Is there a motion regarding our agenda?
Also move.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on down to our consent item. We have consent items that are considered routine by the council. They will be approved with one motion unless requested by council to remove an item. We've got several sets of minutes, the Town of Troutman schedule of fees, the approval of a multi-family building facade, design review board case, an annexation request, and that's the last item. So, council, is there a motion to approve our consent?
I'll make that motion, Mr. Mayor.
A motion is made to approve our consent. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. We'll move on down to our introductions, recognition, and presentations. First item is recognition of Kathy Emery. And I've got a certificate here for Kathy that reads, on behalf of the Troutman Town Council residents and the greater Troutman community, Mayor T. Ross Young hereby recognize Kathy Emery for participating in the American Society of Suicide Prevention 50-mile walk and a journey with her dog Willow in efforts to increase mental health awareness by sharing her story and resources in hope to educate and help others. Kathy, we're going to come up and welcome to comment. If Willow wants to comment as well.
I apologize, she was invited. Thank you so much for having me. I will only take just a couple of minutes. I've actually brought a couple of friends. Do you mind if I
No,
have them
absolutely.
come forward? Come up, ladies, please. So just real quick, we all have a story. This isn't actually my story, it's my testimony. So a few years back, some not great things happened in my life. And by the grace of God and my kids and this one and your town, I made it through. I spend too much time on Facebook, but you know, God works in amazing ways. And I was introduced to the 50-mile walk through the National American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. I walk 2 miles on your walkway every single day, every single day. And I thought, I can do that, no problem. So one thing led to another, and two of my dear friends who are local, and I'm going to let them just introduce themselves in just a minute. But anyway, we all have a story, and it's just stepping out of your comfort zone. I didn't know when I was going to be able to share that story, but now that I have, I'm excited because I'm excited to make a difference. And there isn't a person in this room, I don't care what your story is, I don't care what your testimony is. It's just about coming alongside of somebody and saying, hey, been there, done that, let's talk. I don't know a stranger. This dog doesn't know a stranger, and I apologize for her being obnoxious. But again, thank you for recognizing me. It's not me, it's this one. And just real quick, I'll let them introduce themselves. And so this is local. This is who I now am with these ladies. So say hello.
Okay. My name is Susan Toll. I'm a volunteer and field advocate and educator for the American Society for Suicide Prevention, and we've put on the Out of the Darkness Walk in Iredell County, which is our whole area is called Central Piedmont. It's not just Iredell County, but we've done that since 2018. This is our first year, and this year we're going to break $200,000 for raising in just our area for suicide prevention. And you have done a proclamation. The three mayors for Mooresville, Troutman, and Statesville did a proclamation, and we're going to come back again in September, which is National Suicide Prevention Month, and follow that with our walk, which is October 1st, and Kelly's going to tell you about that. So thank you. We really, we thought big, we implemented small, and we really are ready to get Troutman pulled in. We're doing a lot of work in Mooresville, and we're also going to be pulling in Hickory. So thank you very much.
My name is Kelly James, and this year I'm first time in my tenure with AFSP chairing the walk, and Susan has promised not to throw me out of the nest before I'm ready to fly solo. But it is October 1st. It is going to be at Statesville High School. Registration starts at 9, and we walk and we remember those we've lost. We remember those who have survived. We remember those who struggle or who know people who have struggled. And so we invite the entire town of Troutman to come join us for the walk and bring much needed attention to probably the biggest pandemic ever. And I'm not talking about COVID.
So the way that Willow's involved with these ladies is we're going to pull together a pause for prevention this year. It's still in the works. We're not exactly sure how that's going to work, but God's got it. So this is Team Willow, everybody. Okay? If you guys want to be a part of Team Willow, or if you want to bring your own pupper, because it's all about puppers, we'll talk about that at another time. But thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My hands don't work. I apologize. Thank you, sir.
Kathy, thank you for sharing your testimony and your story with the rest of us. We know it's important to continue to raise awareness. Thank you, ladies, for also being there and helping to bring our communities together. So thank you again.
Thank you, sir.
The next recognition is Dylan Donaldson. And I've got a recognition here for Dylan as well. A certificate of recognition on behalf of the town of Troutman Council, town residents, the greater Troutman community. Mayor T. Ross Young recognized Dylan Donaldson on his 100th victory in high school wrestling. And I've got a certificate here, so Dylan want to come up. They told me you would speak for an hour, but we can settle for whatever you want. Okay. You sound like my son. Congratulations. Thank you. I can tell you are a wrestler. He shook my hand very firmly. Not try to see you on the mat. I remember those days at South in the room with Mrs. Sherrill. Got a little warm in there every now and then, but it was all for the good. So congratulations again.
He talked about as much as his brother does.
Oh, is that right?
That's why he's such a good wrestler, I'm told, is his brother rolled him around a lot.
Yeah, okay. I understand you had a little bit to do with that, Ron.
Just a little.
Okay, all right, good deal. Again, congratulations. The next item on our agenda is our public comments. The public is invited to address the council with comments or concerns. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes per individual. Speakers are required to sign in at the podium and adhere to Policy 51 governing comments to the council during council meetings. Public comments can be received also by mail, sending them here, or email, sending them to our clerk. We also take any chat or live stream. So I'll ask, Michael, is there any chat comments? Thank you.
Yes, sir,
Davis?
Mr. Mayor, there was one sent to our clerk earlier today. I think, and we're not depriving the person from that, however, the questions and concerns they have, I think would be most appropriate if we as staff deal with them. And if the person would like for us to read their public comment next month, we'll be happy to. But it's from Ruth Jones, and it's an inquiry in reference to usage of ESC Park fields. But we will address that as a staff, and then if she would like her comments made public next month, we'll be most happy to do so.
Okay, great, thank you. Anyone from the public like to address council? Welcome to do so at this time. Okay,
And also, Mr. Mayor, if appropriate, please, Ms. Emery and Donaldson family, while we appreciate them coming to be recognized, if they would like to stay for our entire meeting, of course, we'd love to have them, but if they've got dinner or other plans, now would be the appropriate time for them to escape.
absolutely. I'm sure Willow would like to have dinner, but thank you all again for coming. The next item on our agenda is new business. And the first item is a rezoning request, which is CZRM 2202 applicant BBC Troutman LLC. The project is Rocky Creek Phase 2 to rezone 19.5 acres located at the east side of Byers Road. The PIN is 474-049-0827. And it's going from residential, suburban, and heavy industrial to conditional zoning, mixed residential. I will now declare this public hearing open. Turn it over to Ms. Hare.
There we go. Okay. Well, good evening. As you stated, Mr. Mayor, this next item on our agenda is a request for conditional zoning. The applicant is BBC Troutman, and the property in question is located on the east side of Byers Road. It's just south of the Highway 21 intersection with Byers. Currently, the zoning on the property, as you stated, Mr. Mayor, is a combination of two different zoning districts. The property is actually split with suburban residential and heavy industrial. The property is in our ETJ, which means that we have zoning authority over the property. However, we do have the authority to rezone this property, but before it can be developed in the town, the applicant will need to annex it in order to access town utilities for the project. The request this evening is to rezone the property conditionally to mixed residential. The purpose is for the development of the 19.5 acres for a 53-lot single-family subdivision. The applicant has stated that this will be an age-restricted development. This project will be connected to Phase 1 of Rocky Creek. If you recall, we heard the first phase of this project back in late 2021. Rocky Creek is a mixed-use project facing Highway 21 that consists of 95 single-family lots, 169 townhomes, and around 2 acres of commercial outparcels. On your screen is a copy of a map that just shows you the location of the property, highlighted in red. This is a copy of the town zoning map, so you can see how the property is split by the two different zoning districts. In pink here is the first phase of Rocky Creek. If rezoned, this area here will become CZRM as well, similar to the adjacent property. Mixed residential per our UDO is a district that's intended for the location of diverse higher density housing along with any accessory uses as well as neighborhood-friendly commercial. It's encouraged to be walkable. Any RM development shall also have access to public or community water and sewer. I also want to point out that the RM zoning district is the only zoning district in our UDO that allows for lots that are smaller than 1/4 of an acre. Medium-density residential per our land use plan is an area that's intended for single-family residential that's in close proximity to commercial areas as well as arterial transportation corridors similar to Highway 21. Public water and sewer are required as our minimum requirements for screening from the main roadway and adjacent properties. Densities on medium-density residential developments are typically 3 to 4 units per acre of land designed with conservation and clustering. I want to point out that the proposed density of the project we are looking at this evening is actually a little bit less than 2.88 units per acre. It has been reduced by 3 lots and is 2.71 or around 2.7 units per acre. This is the site plan that was presented to the planning board. We did receive a revised site plan, and the applicant has a copy of that this evening. It was inserted in the PowerPoint later this afternoon, but I don't think it got copied in here. That had probably already been done once I did that. But the lots on this side of the development have been eliminated. So this project is going from 56 lots to 53. What the developer's done is they've reduced these lots because of the location of a stream in this area, and then they have put some lots that front buyers here. So there'll be single-family lots fronting buyers. So it's gone from 56 to 53 lots. If approved, the development will be constructed based on the submitted concept plan and the approved conditions. Engineered documents are required to be submitted and approved by the town's technical review committee prior to any work being done on the site. So that will be the next step if this project is approved. A trafficked impact analysis, a full-blown TIA was not required as part of this project due to the size of the development and the fact that it's phase 2 of a development that recently there was a full TIA completed. So what we did ask the applicant to provide was a technical memorandum from a traffic engineer. They did use Kimley Horn, who is the same people that did the TIA for phase 1. The total trips, as you can see, for the project are estimated at 610, with an AM peak of 45 and a PM peak of 58. One thing we asked the applicant to provide us was any additional road improvements that would be required as a result of these additional 53 lots. And what the traffic engineers have reported on that technical memorandum is that the the northbound left turn lane onto Barkdale will have to be expanded from 125 feet to 150 feet. So that is an additional improvement that is a result of these 53 lots. This project is in the Catawba watershed, the protected area. It is considered high density because it is over the 2 units per acre. Council has the authority to approve a development of this type in the watershed if it meets 2 criteria. One is that it does not exceed the maximum density of the underlying zoning, which this project does not. The RM district allows a density up to 12 units per acre. This is significantly less than that at 2.7, so that condition has been met. It also requires that engineered stormwater controls, or what are called BMPs, be provided on site to maintain on-site stormwater runoff. And the applicant is showing stormwater ponds in the project, so that condition has been met as well. With any conditional zoning, one of the requirements is that a community meeting be held. The applicant has complied with this requirement. This meeting was held on January 27th. There are roughly 8 people in attendance. We are required to notify property owners within 500 feet of the project and invite them to attend that meeting. That notice did go out. Questions and concerns that were raised by the attendees at that meeting were basically traffic circulation, protection of the trees on the property and buffering to the adjoining properties, as well as the project timeline and when the second phase of this project would occur in conjunction with phase 1. The town has a strategic plan that was adopted in 2018, which basically identifies this property as medium-density residential. I went over with you all what that definition is previously in my presentation, but again, it basically means that the project will be no more than 3 to 4 units per acre. Our strategic plan also has a key guiding principle that talks about the importance of connectivity within the town, especially when new projects are developed. The density of this project is well below the 3 to 4 units at 2.7, and it meets the goal of connectivity by connecting to phase 2 of the Rocky Creek project. This will allow is people on Byers Road to be able to access the light at Barkdale. So it does provide some connectivity. Based on the following, staff would recommend that the board consider approval of this request. The first is that it does meet the town's definition of the future land use plan's medium density residential. It is below the 3 to 4 units per acre. It also promotes connectivity, which is a goal of the strategic plan as well. Our planning board heard this on February the 28th, at which time they unanimously recommended approval of the request subject to several conditions. The first condition was that prior to town council, the suggested conditions will be amended to reflect a minimum number of 2 stories for the proposed homes. The original conditions, I believe, said 4 stories, and the applicant has amended that, so that has been done. The second condition is they wanted that technical memorandum to be prepared and presented in the final results of that memorandum to be presented this evening. The applicant has provided that information as well. I believe they'll be speaking to that in their presentation. The third is that an updated plan reflecting changes required as a result of the newly identified stream on the site be prepared and presented to Town Council at the public hearing. They wanted to make sure that when we met on the 28th, they had not had an opportunity to amend their site plan. They wanted to make sure that you all had an opportunity to see that this evening, and the applicant has complied with that as well. The fourth is that the applicant will include the 2 additional conditions proposed by staff in their final conditions list. Staff was recommending or requesting of the applicant that they not include vinyl as a material on the site, and that they would agree to timing of when the connection between Rocky Creek Phase 1 and 2 happened. We wanted to make sure that that did occur since it is important to the town and is one of the reasons that staff is recommending approval. The applicant has done that and included both of those conditions in the condition list that's before you this evening. And then fifth, the applicant, the planning board wanted to make sure that on the proposed condition list under traffic and transportation, paragraph 6, there is language in there talking about right-of-way acquisition, and the council wanted to make, the planning board wanted to make sure that that was deleted. It basically was stating that the council would be in agreement to any type of right-of-way acquisition in terms like condemnation if it came to that. So the planning board wanted to make sure that was deleted from the condition list, and it was. So all of these conditions have been met. The board also unanimously adopted a statement of consistency and reasonableness. In front of your screen are options for the council tonight. I won't go over those. You all have the option of adopting it, denying it, or choosing an alternative zoning classification for the property. That is the end of staff's presentation. If you have questions, I'm happy to address those. The applicant is here this evening as well if you have any questions for him.
I have a question. In the plan and zoning recommendation was part of that, and you didn't mention, you only mentioned the Barkdale side. They had said recommendation to reflect the intersection of Byers Road, if there was anything with that update on the traffic. Will it be addressed at Byers Road? In the applicant's presentation, there is a copy of the map. So I believe Mr. Davis is going to go over that with you all. Okay. I just remember that was one of the issues because there is some of the traffic can go out Byers Road also.
Any other questions for staff?
Lynn, you said there was, due to the finding of the stream and so forth, they reduced 3 lots. So we're actually now talking 53 single-family detached
That
homes?
is correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions for staff? Okay. And the applicant's here?
Yes, sir.
Please state your name and sign in.
Mr. Mayor, Robert Davis and council members, I'm here on behalf of Prestige Corporate. And then thank you for the presentation. I must say that at my young age of 68, these young guns were too tired to be here this evening, so they recruited me on their behalf. But it's a pleasure to appear before you. We have a presentation this evening, and I will address the questions that were raised earlier as well, if you don't mind, through the presentation. This is we're proposing this as Rocky Creek 2 as part of the community, original community that the board saw fit to rezone for us and annex into the town. I'll go to and Lynn has mentioned where the site is, which is on the east side. This was the original proposed site plan, which was 56 single-family detached home sites, residential home sites. Once we identified, and if you don't mind, Mayor, I'll step away. Once we identified in the wetland study a stream, we recognized that it may impact some of these homes, and it did in fact impact those. So that's why you see the reduction from 56 homes down to 53, to recognize that stream and the required buffer. So this is the final yield, which is 53 homes, as you can see. In that, staff and planning board wanted to discuss connectivity. So you'll see those connected points to Rocky Creek 1, to the adjoining property, and then to Byers Road. So you'll see 3 connection points for phase 2 of Rocky Creek. Oops, I'll go back one if I may. When we increased the stream buffer, one of the things you heard Lynn mention is we did increase the common area open space from the required 10% to almost double that to 20%. One of the things that was mentioned in the planning board was that they didn't want 3-story, they wanted to see 2-story homes. So we clarified that. These are really, Lynn mentioned age-restricted homes. They're actually age-targeted homes, meaning age-restricted by deed, 55 and older for 80% of it. This product is specifically designed, which you'll see in a minute, for folks who are 55 and over. So it'll typically attract that crowd, which means less traffic and more disposable dollars to spend here in the community in which they live. So you'll see we've reduced it to 2 stories, excepting there may be the chance of a basement lot or a terrace level, which would be below grade. We removed, per the recommendation of the planning board, the condemnation language. That was a carryover from Rocky Creek Phase 1, and that addressed specifically utilities. It wasn't really meant for roadways. It was just that connection for the sewer. And I think we recognized the architectural standards. We were glad to do away with vinyl, except in the soffits, raise it to brick, cementous stone, and hardy board, or concrete siding. This simply shows some of the amenities, gives you a street view. It shows some of the monumentation that you're likely to see at the site. So those are some of the community features. This is dealing with the traffic. There was a question about traffic in the technical memorandum. One of the things, even though you only have 53 homes, these are age targeted, so an older buyer. There is the extension of the left-hand turn lane on Highway 21 left onto Barkdale at that signalized intersection. So you will see that extension of a turn lane as you're headed east to west. Some of the things about Prestige that you may have heard before, we were established in 2017 specifically for land development and for Prestige Site Works in 2019. We are locally owned. We do reside here in the local communities. In fact, most of those of us who were who began with this corporation are within 30 to 45 minutes of this site, reside within 30 to 45 minutes of this site. As we've grown, we currently are under construction for a much larger facility where we can warehouse and store all our site works. Our site works crew that we self-perform on our lots, we have over 200 employees now in site works and over $11 million worth of equipment. So we've grown geometrically during that time. And I think that concludes our presentation, but I'll be available to answer any questions that Mr. Mayor, either yourself or council members may have of me.
Any questions at this time from Mr. Davis?
Sir, you say it is age restricted, 80% age restricted,
Age targeted, sir.
Age target.
excuse me?
Age targeted. Age restricted.
Right, okay, age targeted, and that's leading to my question. If you know, if you're not able to meet that, if it's been more, millennials, people in their 30s, 40s. How would you handle that if that's your target? How would you handle the age restriction?
Well, by law, we couldn't turn that buyer down. But what you will see, because these are typically ranch-style homes, maybe a 1-story or a story and a half, this type product is specifically like you would see in an EPCON community or certain other age-restricted or age-targeted communities. That's typically the type buyer. The other thing to notice is you'll not see a lot of bedrooms and baths that you would typically see for growing families with children. These are typically 3-bedroom, 2.5-bath homes, or maybe 3-bedroom, 3-bath homes. So just the way they're designed architecturally, the features of them, it is meant specifically for that type buyer. Now, could there be offhand that a young 40-year-old buyer would want to purchase one of those? If I were in my early 40s and not a lot of children, I may be interested as well in this type product. But most people, as they age, they're looking for this type product and not the larger home.
And didn't mean to interrupt Mr. Davis, but to direct counsel, here's some pictures of what the models that they intend on trying to build are to show what he just verbalized is this type of structure appeals to the older population. But as he also said, I would like to point out that the federal law on restricting to certain ages is quite specific.
Doug, thank you for that. And to show my old brain, I missed that slide, which does show the proposed elevations of the homes themselves. So thank you, sir. Great question. Can you go, carrying that forward, these are, usually you see elevations in these type presentations, but you don't see interior shots of the homes. So these are actually interior slides of some of the homes that have been built previously. So as you can see, these are very nice homes. They have nice amenities, nice features.
What would be the average square footage?
Typically, you're in the 22 to 2,600 square feet. That's typical.
Even for the age restricted?
Yes, sir. Most people don't ever want to go above 3,000 square feet.
Right, yeah. That's why I'm saying, a lot of them, move down, shall we say.
Yes, sir.
To something smaller. That's the reason I was asking. Okay.
Yes, sir. And as you can see, these are well appointed.
Look nice.
Thank you, sir.
Other questions?
Yeah, my question again is, so the TIA did not have anything needed to be done at Byers Road?
There was no required improvements on Byers Road. There's not, believe it or not, the traffic counts for Byers Road is not as high as we thought it possibly could be. It's not that much. But there was a question raised during the planning board on Byers Road. I don't believe that gentleman's here this evening, but it was important to, we said to him that if there were any problems with Byers Road, we were happy to make NCDOT aware that it could be a spot safety project. But there seems to be no improvements at this time.
But it wasn't that much impact at Byers Road. Most of this traffic will go right back out through phase 1.
Most will go through phase 1 and do their best to either go directly out to Highway 21 and to the commercial we intend on that corner or to the signalized intersection.
Yeah, because that was a concern of mine, the left turn lane, coming south going to north, the left turn lane not being proposed, and the TIA does not support that.
No, sir. Too fewer trips.
Excuse me?
Too fewer trips. There's not enough traffic.
And so that doesn't have any impact on the TIA for phase 1 as well?
No,
Because
sir.
it does connect into phase 1, correct?
It does not.
It doesn't connect.
It does connect, but it does not impact. I thought that was your first question. My apology.
Other questions for Mr. Davis? Are there any other, communities closer by that's similar to what you're proposing here in phase 2?
Well, this is a local regional builder that we have contracted, if approved for this site, Eastwood Homes. So there are many communities that Eastwood has throughout the Charlotte MSA.
Okay,
So I'll be glad to email staff so they can share those if you'd like to see them, sir.
okay, great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Council, you've heard from both the staff and Mr. Davis. At this time, I'll ask if there are any public comment regarding this project.
I've got two questions.
Sir, we need you to step to the microphone and sign in, please.
I've got two questions, and one is, I know he said that he's going to try to make this where he can accommodate people and the traffic zone was not that high. But let's say he don't meet those parameters. Will we be able to put a light at the end of Byers Road? Because traffic's pretty bad right now, especially if you're going out to a job and got to be there anywhere between 7 and 9. It's pretty bad. So that's my first question. My second question is, I know that, we're going to redo Byers Road, and, we're a small town, and we conduct ourselves in a certain way. But let's say 20 or 30-year-old people start buying these houses. We may have a problem then. Have you all even thought anything about that? I know he says he's going to try to keep it age restricted, but I thought that's the way it was going to be in Inglewood too. But it didn't turn out that way. And let's see, I had another question. What was it, sweetheart? What was the other question I wanted to ask them? I'll think of it. I'll get back with you just as soon as okay. Somebody else probably want to ask some questions. But as soon as I think about it, I'll bring it to your attention. Ronner Byers. Ronner. R-O-N-N-E-R. B-Y-E-R-S.
Thank you, Mr. Myers. Any other comments for council?
Mr. Mayor, if I may address
Yes.
what Mr. Byers asked. He mentioned the stoplight there at Byers Road intersection, I believe, if that's correct. That process, anytime, that's a state highway, Main Street 21-115. Anytime we have those roads, we have to get permission from the state before any traffic signals can be installed. Is the first part to answer your question. The second part is there is a traffic signal at Barkdale and 21 Main Street. That intersection will be improved, and this will be a connectivity from the second phase that they hope to build and have permission to build. There will be connectivity that allows people to get out in multiple places. Not all of them will have to come back out to Byers Road. But the way the construction is intended and targeted, most residents would want to use the other exits instead of coming back out to Byers, even though Byers is certainly an option to them. But I hope that addresses your concerns or question about the traffic signal. The other part about young people and their driving, I got teenage sons. I understand exactly what you're saying. But all we can do there is tend to those as law enforcement, and there are issues, and we are continually modifying and dealing with traffic throughout the town, whether it's a town-owned street in a neighborhood or the state roads that we also wind up going from our town limits to another part of our town limits. Mm-hmm. I hope, did that address your questions? Not that I gave you the answers you wanted, but did it at least acknowledge them?
Yeah, at least it acknowledged it.
Thank you, sir.
I know what my second question was.
Okay.
My second question was about city limits. Byers Road has been county half of the way, and the other half has been eliminated. The first half of it is city limits. The back half of it is county. The reason I want to know this because I want to be grandfathered into the water, the sewage, and gas if you're going to change from county to city limits. You know what I mean?
I can also address that too.
Fantastic.
We will never annex you in unless you raise your hand and say, annex me in. And as far as the services that are there, currently, they will continue to exist. Once we add services to this neighborhood, if any citizens in that area would like to add to those services, that's certainly an option of theirs. We do have outside rates for certain things. Currently, we do not allow, except for very limited that was done before the policy changed, a residence to add outside water and sewer. If they need both services, we ask that they be annexed in. But otherwise, if you just needed water and or the gas, the town is not in the gas business, but there's a gas provider, natural gas provider here, they certainly would absolutely, as they run lines to this neighborhood, would extend that to anybody else that's close by that would like to have them. And I think that addressed your question, but we're not allowed by law to annex anybody involuntarily anymore. So if you're in the county, you would remain in the county unless you raise your hand and say, please annex me in so that I can get all the services that the town would provide. Not just the fresh water, wastewater, trash pickup, limb pickup, all the other things that go with that.
Mm-hmm. I like the county. But I didn't want you all to build these homes, and then I find out later I gotta pay $10,000 to be added to sewage, another $10,000 to be added to water. You know what I mean?
There are connectivity fees, but they exist for everybody now. You will not be made to have to join these systems if you're not on them already. And if you're on them already, then you won't have to pay any additional fees.
Okay.
But there are situations that we have had to where when a development like this occurs, people's system fails them, and then they would like to attach to our system. And if that's the case, at that time, you would pay whatever hookup fee we have in place at that time. But for us to come to you and say, now you got to buy our stuff, sir, that's not going to happen.
Okay. But also, I've noticed right behind my house, over there on Autumn Leaf, they're building homes over there.
Yes, sir.
So you're saying that I will never have to worry about being hooked up to water, being hooked up to sewage, or being hooked up to gas?
We will never force you to hook up to any of those services unless you volunteer for them.
Well, how far of a piping would I have to run?
I don't know where your exact house is, so I can't answer that. But depending on which development is closest to you, depends on where we can offer the services. And that's as straightforward as I can answer that. I don't know exactly where you are to say it's as simple as 100 feet or it may be 1,000 feet. So I don't know the answer to that.
And we have another problem on Byers Road. There's a cul-de-sac. People won't turn around in that cul-de-sac. So they come down this single driveway. It's about a mile long. And then they, instead of them going to the end of the road, they want to turn around in my yard because I got a half-circle driveway. So I had to put 2 semis in my yard so people would stop that, and plus stop big trucks from coming. And I'm sort of thinking about hooking up to your water just because of Marshall. You know, it's that ash.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's getting in the ground. I had to dig 500 feet to get water. But when it hit right.
Yes, sir.
But my thing is, you know, I don't want that fly ash in my water.
Oh, yes, sir.
And city water, it seems to be a difference. But see, I could use my well and the water.
You
And the
certainly,
city water.
you certainly
I could drink
could.
with it,
Yes,
and
sir.
wash my car, and maybe take a bath or something like that with the well water.
Certainly your choice.
But
Yes, sir.
I'm definitely concerned about that fly ash.
I understand.
Yeah, that's, I think that's a state issue that I think we're all pretty concerned about, so,
Yeah.
thank
Yeah.
you.
All right,
Again,
thank you.
feel free to reach out to Mr. Wyatt, town manager, and hopefully you got clear answer. We won't be forcing you to join any one of our systems, and again, I know that's a challenge sometimes for folks as well to tap in, so.
You don't know until you ask.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Any other questions for council?
Just Lynn or Ron, on the 21, where exactly? Can you give me a kind of a roundabout? I couldn't tell on the map. about where the entrance onto 21 Direct, not down at Barksdale or at Byers, but there's one where directly, can you tell me about where that would be?
Where the for sale sign that says 54 acres is?
Gotcha, okay, yeah, thank you, yes, sir.
All right. If there's nothing else for council at this time, I will declare this public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from staff, you've heard from citizenry, as well as the developer of this property. We will now consider the adoption of Ordinance 0421 titled an ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from suburban residential and heavy industrial to conditional zoning, mixed residential. CZRM, I believe Ms. Hare gave you a few options. Before I go forward, I want to make sure that there were some conditions that were recommended, and I take it that the Mr. Davis and the developer agreed to those conditions?
Yes, sir, I did, Mayor.
Thank you. Okay. So is there a motion regarding this rezoning request?
Could I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Right, so this is, according to the presentation by Ms. Hare, this is ETJ.
That is correct, yes.
So we do have zoning. Is there an anticipated request for annexation for this property?
Yes, yes, sir.
As was stated in the presentation, before they can develop, they would have to have annexation.
Any other questions? Okay. Is there a motion on regarding this rezoning request?
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve ordinance 0422 title and ordinance changing the zoning classification of the after described property from suburban residential and heavy industrial to conditional zoning mixed residential, CZRM.
So there's a motion on the floor to approve the rezoning request. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second.
Motion is made to second the request. Any other question or comment? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item is a statement of consistency. I would ask you to read the full statement. Is there a statement of consistency by the council?
I make a motion regarding consistency of this action, that the requested rezoning is consistent with the Troutman strategic plan and the future land use map, as it will serve to guide residential development in the scale and density prescribed in these policy documents by allowing appropriate medium density residential development and their customary accessory uses. Finally, the requested rezoning is considered reasonable and in the public interest, as it proposes to allow the retention of residential development in areas of Troutman where it is appropriate.
There is a statement of consistency motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, receives a second. Any question or comment? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is a economic incentive request by Iredell County Economic Development Corporation for TPA Group Project CAT. I will now declare this public hearing open. I believe Chad is in the room. Filling in for Ms. Bosser this evening.
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Mayor Young and members of the town board. Thank you for the opportunity to present Project CAT for an economic incentive request. I am Chad Thomas, Director of Business Development with Iredell County Economic Development Corporation. Our President and CEO, Jim Bozer, was unable to attend. I would like to thank the town manager and his staff for their help on this project. This project required coordination from multiple departments, and we appreciate the town's responsiveness. Project CAT, also known as the TPA Group, is an Atlanta-based developer that has been working on assembling approximately 160 acres of land that sits just north of Oswald Amity Road on Highway 21. The developer plans to build 2 industrial buildings totaling 1.7 million square feet to create the Troutman Logistics Center. The TPA Group has a strong portfolio of building top-quality buildings that have attracted major tenants in the industrial space for distribution and logistic companies. The project has proposed an investment of $150 million for site design and development of the industrial site. The town board recently approved rezoning and an annexation request for this project. The project has encountered additional expenses due to the wetland mitigation related to on-site improvements. Time to market is critical to the decision-making process to lease or purchase a site or facility. Having available product will aid in securing investment and jobs. Speculative development can accelerate the timeline and mitigate risk associated with a site for a potential project and is instrumental in helping a competitive project choose a location. Increasing product availability will help the town of Troutman support the growth of local industries and with the attraction of new businesses, creating jobs and investment. Idaho County Economic Development Corporation requests an economic incentive grant to TPA Group for up to $1,872,000 based on the capital investment total of $150 million. The grant is performance-based and will be payable over 3 years based on 80% of real property and tangible personal property taxes paid. The grant will be applied to eligible public infrastructure improvements that meet a public benefit as defined by the town of Troutman, including public infrastructure improvements that lie within the public right-of-way. Payment is tied to the amount of new increment assessed value generated from the private investment by the company. On behalf of Idaho EDC, I want to thank the town board for your consideration of this grant request and would be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you. Mr. Thomas, I would ask, are there any questions for Mr. Thomas at this time? Okay.
Maybe just for the public, again, explain how you guys monitor the public infrastructure that has been done, that goes back to you guys. So you're a part of this, of making sure they're meeting these requirements as they give reimbursements over 3 years.
Yes, Councilmember Harris, we will work with the town. So part of the the reimbursement is the developer will submit receipts of public infrastructure improvements, and we will work with the town on that reimbursement request.
Thank you.
And to be clear on that, the town would consider exactly what those improvements are in coordination with the developer.
Correct. Yes, sir.
Okay. Any other questions for Mr. Thomas? Okay.
And my understanding is that you folks will determine when they have met those requirements and report to the town so that we know that some of the incentive, whatever is due, would be paid.
Yes, we have a thorough.
You are the arbiter or the referee, if you will, to determine, yes, up to this point, this much has been done and approved, and you report it to our town manager and the finance officer.
Correct. There will be an incentive agreement in which there will be an exhibit, one, that the investment has been made, that the taxes have been paid, and that the public infrastructure has been put into place. And then we will review that request with both you and the county, because the county will assess the property. So we do that on all of our contracts, and it's quite a thorough process now because we have a lot of contracts to review, which is a good problem to have.
As Councilman Harris said, I just wanted that to come out for the public's benefit as well.
Yes,
So they know
yes, sir.
that it's not a guessing game, that it's data-driven and
It's math.
and watched over very closely.
Yes, sir.
Well, and results-based as well.
Yes, this is performance-based.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Chad. Any questions or comments from the public at this time? Okay. Hearing none, I will now declare this public hearing closed. Council, you've heard from Mr. Thomas with the Idaho County Economic Development Corporation regarding TPA Group Project CAT consideration for an incentive Is there a motion regarding this request?
Sir, I will make the motion, and the attorney may want to guide me in this respect, that the economic development incentives for the TPA group, Project CAT, be paid as specified in the contract and in coordination with the developer and our Iredell County Economic Development Commission and the town. Is that adequate, sir, or do I need to add or subtract?
Okay. There's a motion on the floor to approve the incentive agreement. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion is made, receive the second. Any other question or comment? Okay, hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Thomas. Hopefully that wasn't too painful.
Mr.
Next-
Mayor, he didn't have those socks on.
Oh, he didn't have the socks on? Should I call him back up, or?
He still said we gotta have to deliver them.
Okay, all right, all right. Next item on the agenda is approval of ordinance 0322 titled Amendment to the Town of Troutman Code of Ordinances to decriminalize certain ordinances and to repeal a subsection related to the police chief. I'll turn it over to Mr. Thomas at this time. The other Mr. Thomas.
We're taking over the world.
Yes, I see.
This is just a housekeeping matter. As you know, there are ordinances that we are required to decriminalize based upon the requirements of the state legislature. And in our ordinances, one has to do with transient merchants, the other has to do with driveways. So that's what this ordinance does, is decriminalize it. And one of them on the transit, it does add a civil penalty. On the police chief matter, that's simply cleaning up an ordinance from 1977 that conflicts with our town charter.
Okay. Any questions for our attorney, Mr. Thomas? Okay. Hearing none, I'll ask if there is a vote to approve ordinance 020322 titled Amendment to the Town of Troutman Code of Ordinances to decriminalize certain ordinances and to repeal a subsection relating to the police chief. Is there such a motion?
I will so move, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Hinkle, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made, received a second. Any other question or comment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passes. The next item on the agenda is to delegate someone for the League of Municipalities Board of Directors. I believe Mr. Wyatt sent out a note to everyone regarding that. I don't know if there's more you want to speak to it, Mr. Wyatt.
Just for the public's consumption, this is a North Carolina League of Municipalities is a resource that we as a town use and make decisions. Our insurance comes through this organization, various trainings for all the different specific professions that we have, and they have a board of governors, if you will, and they ask that each participating member provide one person that can speak for the town and vote on such things. Mayor Pro Tem Hinkle done that this past year. In addition to the meetings, which are done virtually, they also send out regular correspondence advising different opportunities that may benefit different cities and towns from time to time. We have a great relationship with the organization, and typically the appointed position is for somebody that has served within the elected official role for some time and has a good working knowledge and is typically comfortable in speaking for their co-council members in decisions that may affect others. But again, it's throughout the whole state. It's not one decision that Troutman has to follow. It is simply casting a vote toward whatever the item may be for the organization.
Thank you. And I would just add, I mean, prior years, I've also served in that capacity. And again, there are post-COVID or pre-COVID, lots of opportunities to learn and engage with other council members around the state. Again, great learning opportunity, but also, building your knowledge base of local government. So I know you all have thought long and hard about this, but I'll accept any recommendations. I believe Mr. Hinkle, are you willing to continue in that role?
If that's the choice.
That's the choice of the council. Any other nominations? Okay. Can I get a,
Then Mr. Hinkle will be good.
is that a motion?
That's a motion.
All right.
Second from the other years.
Okay.
Voting day.
All right. At this point, the Harrises have fully nominated you. I will call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion passes. Thank you for doing that and representing our town within the state. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next item on the agenda is comments from elected officials. I will start with council. I will start to my right. Mr. Oxer.
I don't have much. The speed of this meeting caught me off guard. I may have set the record.
Don't count on it for long. But
No, I don't have much, so it ain't me. But no, I just would like to again thank all the town staff for the work you've had to do these past several weeks, especially organizing and preparing for the strategic planning meeting that we had over the past couple weeks. It was highly productive, highly informative, and hopefully now you can sit back for a moment, but then we got to start tackling all these issues that you guys brought up. So look forward to helping wherever I can, and I think it will show to be good things for our town moving forward. So thanks again.
thank you. I'll let Fiona know you're on your way. I'll let Fiona know you're on your way.
Oh, I'm sure she's.
I'm gonna hold on for you for Mr. Harris.
Okay, well, again, I would second what he said about the staff's preparation for the retreat or strategic plan, as Doug likes to call it. But anyhow, and I think Jerry mentioned the other day at the end of the meeting that not only did you talk about the things you need, you talked about ways we could achieve those items, and that was a lot of help for us as we get ready for the budget next. But the other area I wanted to thank a person and let you guys know there's an opportunity when you get a chance to do it is I go to a radio show once in a while where Doug does on Wednesdays on WAME, and while it's always a pretty good fun time, those guys don't really put you on the spot much, so it's but you have a good time with it. It's a good time to talk about the good of the town. But the other part of it is when you leave there, Doug and I leave, we drive and we go, all those pictures you saw the other day, we drove through those areas so that, I get to see some of those exactly where we're at. It helps me learn things. And then we took a drive, and if you haven't done it, it probably would be good to do. We drove through Weathers Creek, Sutter's Mill 1 and 2, and Sanders Ridge, and there's another one, but there's a lot of houses going in there, but as we drove around, and it was just really struck me odd is that even where they had the wood built to get ready to pour the pad for the house, out front it said sold. The house is already sold. All those places over there, I mean, they're sold as they're just getting ready to start building the house, as soon as they cleared the lot. It's amazing, and it's in all of those places. It wasn't, I don't think we had one that didn't see that in. That kind of struck us odd that we drove out to Sutter's Mill 2, and that one lane, it's like, I don't think they have none but pads, but all of them sold. So that's what I do tell you, if you get a time, like I say, join him at the show sometime, but also you get a nice tour of the town and look at some of the things we got going on at times. My wife, when I got home, she said, "My God, I bet they were glad to see you and Duck leaving down that radio show." Because we were going like 2 hours or 3 hours before I got back home. She said, "Y'all wouldn't let them rest, would you?" I said, "Well, no, we actually left a little bit ahead of time." but it was a good time. I appreciate Duck for taking me around on that tour.
Okay. Ms. Harris?
Again, I'd like to say happy International Women's Day to me on this council and to all the women in the audience and to everyone watching us, happy International Women's Day. And also I would like to echo the comments about our wonderful staff, all the hard work that they do and that they're doing. We truly appreciate everything. And as we stated before, the retreat truly showed us how much work our staff really does. And I don't know if our town members, town citizens know how much work we do. Our staff does, but we truly appreciate everything that you all do. So thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Now?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would just like to bring it to the attention of our citizens the spectacular job that our Public Works and Supervisor Adam Lippard has been doing for us. We've had some broken pipes, we've had some water main breaks, and it was cold, it was raining, it was in the middle of the night. So they're out there working for us and our citizens and away from their families, and really appreciate the job that they do to take care of our citizens. But spectacular job by Adam and the Public Works people. Thank you.
Great. Mr. Hinkle?
Well, it's, George, Councilman Harris kind of gave me an opportunity to segue into what he said about going and seeing all the new construction going on. And I've seen, as well as the rest of you, seen some pictures of the result of that construction, what it's doing to our roadway, our road network. Some irresponsible builders, I'll just leave it at that disappoints me, as well as some folks who are letting their property run down that not only affects the property directly, but affects their neighbor's property and the town's looks in general. And I'm leading up to saying I appreciate our town manager and other staff members looking into this and taking care of business and seeing that some things that have been going on for far too long are now being handled, and even some things that were started to be handled and then kind of dropped, that questions are being asked, why were they dropped, and you need to pick them back up and carry through with it to fruition. So I appreciate the work you are doing, have done, will continue to do for the aesthetics of this town, and to make sure property owners as well as builders, developers, builders primarily, I guess I should say, are held accountable to do the right thing and clean up after themselves, basically, put it bluntly. And thank you for the hard work in that. And once again, that's one of the reasons, if not out of many, that we asked you to be our town manager over a year ago, and you're getting the job done and continue to get the job done. Again, things that have just been neglected for far too long. And thank you very much, both of you. Thank you.
Great comments. I'll start with, again, I mentioned International Women's Day, but that's why I shared an article, Mr. Hinkle shared an article about a relative of his and how did Celeste Hinkle get its name. And so interesting to know that there's a connection there. So I always assumed that, but good to see it in print.
I did respond to our town manager that, searching my family tree, people like Celeste Hinkle, I'm glad to hold out as an example, but if I find any horse thieves, I'm going to keep that to myself.
Yeah. Well, we'll understand you a little bit more, but we'll leave it at that.
That was specific. I think you found it.
I'm keeping it to myself.
Okay.
Yeah. Again, I appreciate all the work that staff did for our strategic planning meeting. I know some call it a retreat. Again, in my mind, a retreat is, maybe I'm sitting on the beach somewhere, and, at the mountains or something like that. But to sit in this room for 4 hours and hash over stuff for this town, I think it's more of a strategic planning conversation. And appreciate the people who take the time to come out and join us, give us feedback during those times. It's a great opportunity for us to think about our town and also plan for it even more. So again, I appreciate all the work that goes into it. Kim, I know you have to keep him straight, and I know it's a hard job, but appreciate what you do and just in jest, again, appreciate, Juan, all you, continue to do to lead the staff in the town on many issues that, we care not to stay up late at night, but know you have to. And Adam and that team have done yeoman's work, not just now, but I mean, it continues, and just with all of our staff. And again, we appreciate it. I would only be remiss to not thank our citizens for the feedback that they give us on a regular basis, and we hear that. Mr. Byers, we appreciate you coming out and giving us feedback tonight. Things that we may not be thinking about, or we may be thinking about it, but others don't hear it, and so we get a chance to say it. And so, again, hopefully, you heard a lot of things that you asked about. Mr. Wyatt responded to, because there's many things that we've actually been talking about and debating. And so, again, appreciate your conversations. To Mr. Harris, there is a lot of growth in our town, and we've got a lot of development, residential. We're no different, I said on Monday, than many of the towns in North Carolina that are growing. And we have to continue to grow, to grow responsibly. But I think at the same time, that, we can't put the bottle back on the, or put the top back on the bottle here. People know it's a great place to be, and they want to be here. As we, have a new congressional district in our state, I think our population shift has continued to increase throughout the state. And again, we want to enjoy it, as we say, naturally, but we also want to continue to enjoy it with others. And so we've got to find ways to keep our greenways up, to keep our town, places where people want to be and can do it safely. So again, hopefully, people will continue to give us feedback, citizens, and we represent you. Appreciate your feedback. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Wyatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council, for the kind words for staff and myself, and to touch base on a couple of the things that you all said, and again, for citizen consumption and those that may be watching us online as well. Yes, Public Works has been extremely busy the last couple months, and I would just like for all of the public and taxpayers to know that every time they see Public Works out making repairs, that's not due to something that we as a town have neglected or done. It's just natural things that happen. Even if it was a brand new system, everything was brand new, there's still going to be breaks and repairs that are needed from time to time. At least 3 of the breaks that we've had to tend to off the top of my head are breaks that someone else is having to pay for. One was due to an accident. One was due to a malfunctioning piece of equipment on a retail side of a commercial customer, so they have to pay for those things. But yes, to acknowledge the fact that they still respond in late evening hours or stay out most of the night trying to get the repairs, I echo your sentiments that Mr. Mayor, and the rest of council, that they have certainly done a yeoman's job. Our police force have stepped up and been appreciably so, and working rotations. We discussed it during our strategic planning session, and I do like that terminology much better. That we have a police chief that has worked not only a significant portion of a day shift, but will go and take a nap and then come back and work night shift, just because of the policy that's in place that we need 2 officers working at a time. We also have a detective that is also coming out and working extra hours for the first time in a long time in memory. And while I'd like to applaud and say that's a great thing, it is also a negative that we are a couple persons short due to things out of our control, such as sicknesses and other things that have took people away from their job. And as we learned in the strategic planning session, that lets us know where we're deficient in some personnel, but we do certainly have plans going forward to try to correct that, and we'll discuss it more in depth during the budget session. I would like to thank each department head, without naming them individually, as you all have said. I felt like, at least from my seat, based off of what you all have given us directive to do in my 15 months here, is tell us what we have, tell us what's broke, and tell us what we're going to do to fix it. And I think each department head put in a lot of time. Chip Smith, I don't know that I can defend him a whole lot there, but Chip, as nervous as he was, even did a great job as well, and coming in very late in the season to a department that was, we all know, was in great hands and control until we removed her to do more needs in the town that we also needed. And that's the thing that I guess I'm saying about all the department directors, regardless of what their title is, they have all chipped in to help one another, and more importantly, for the kind words that you all gave me, they wouldn't be possible without each one of these department directors doing their job and then some. And I can safely say all the ones we have now are doing their job and then some. And I appreciate that, and you all's acknowledging their efforts during the retreat, the planning session. Also, to Mayor Pro Tem's comment, and I don't remember if it was separate or during the prayer, as we have people on the other side of the globe experiencing war, sometimes it's easy for us to get the simple struggles that we have here on turning a water faucet on and the water working, being able to go to the grocery store and buy what we want, go to a fast food place and order what we wish there. And it's easy for us to get lulled into, why do I not have more, and why is somebody not serving me? And our hearts and minds definitely go out to all the persons that are affected in a war, because and thankful that we here as our community are not directly in it, but your minds and hearts has to go out to all these people that are involved. And even though we see and hear things on the news, we still don't know all the stories of what's happening behind the scenes. And for that, it's a sad day in our world, but I'm very thankful that we have a community here that, even though we may have differences of opinion, or as the old saying is, if we left here and went to Myrtle Beach, there's 100 different ways to get there. So if you get there, did you accomplish your goal? And while some of us definitely have different paths that we want to take, I truly think all of our community is trying to do the best of what's better for Troutman. And again, that's a thank you for the staff. And as you said, Mr. Mayor, for folks coming out and talking to us so that we all can get there, whichever path that is. Talking about Miss Celeste Hinkle, I certainly enjoyed reading that. I honestly had no clue why the school was named what it was. And I always thought maybe there was an old community that didn't exist any longer, at least part of it. So I was excited to see this from the Iredell Free News article, that it was written and quite fascinating. And yes, while there may be a horse thief in yours, I can certainly say there was moonshiners in mine, which used to be a bad thing, but now they make a whole program about it. So some of my family might want to unretire from that. I would also like to say aesthetics. Chip Smith has, in the process of planning, and we are with the planning department as well, some more work to do down at exit 42, but we also would like people to know we have a streetscape plan that council had approved many, many years ago, and Emily Watson was doing a fantastic job of creating a little bit of buzz downtown with some of our businesses, and had put street lights and planters and things of that nature. We are continuing with that plan that we had, or the vision that council and some citizens had. So we will be making changes in the near future to that corridor. cleaning the sidewalks and getting a natural area there at the corner of one of the buildings. We have builders on hand now that are, appointments are to be made to look at our buildings to hopefully get upfitted so that we can use that as examples for others to also follow. But didn't mean to be quite so long-winded, Mr. Mayor, but I'm very appreciative of the things you all mentioned, and to be able to be a teammate with all of these folks as we go forward. I think because of North Carolina overall, its history in the last few years, economically, the state is doing well. We have suffered several tragedies and natural disasters, but because of appropriate planning, there was money in the banks for those. And because of that, North Carolina has fared well. But Iredell County winds up being a top 5 county in a lot of those categories, and we being in the middle, or as I like to aggravate one business person and several of you on council remember a former mayor we had. We're in the center of the universe here, and if anybody's confused, all they got to do is go to the stoplight down there, hang out 5 minutes, and somebody will remind them. But we definitely have it going on here, and I'm glad to be a citizen.
Great, thank you. Appreciate you bringing up the streetscape. I know some of us who were on council some years ago really did talk about just trying to beautify what we have and make sure that our center part of the town continues to look good. And so I know Emily had done some work on that with the lights and all. I did happen to see you and Chip out there. Didn't see me, but I did see you guys out there scoping out the pots and everything. So again, appreciate the work that you all will do to, again, continue to keep our town fresh and looking good for our citizens. So appreciate that. If there are no other comments, as my pastor says, for all hearts and minds are clear.
And I'd just like to say it's my honor to be back this month after one month away, and to be able to say I make a motion that we adjourn.
Is there a second?
I second.
Motion is on the floor, received a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition, you're willing to stay. Thank you.